Today we're pursuing Christ every moment, every day, until we see him face to face. We love him because he loved us and began something working in our heart that just hasn't stopped. It just keeps going. We're in chapter 8, verse 14 of the song. But in verse 13, the beloved Christ said to his lover, I want to hear your voice. He tells her, let me hear your voice. Actually, our voice, or the way that we speak to our beloved Christ, not to one another, but to our beloved Christ, will display our growth in life, our intimate relationship to him, our union with him. If you look in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12, it says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. Now when I am grown to maturity, my speaking is different. My speaking has more substance. My speaking has more reality. So no longer speaking about childish things, but only for him, wanting him alone. So she speaks of wanting him to return, to see him face to face. He says, let me hear your voice. And the first two words she says, make haste. Come quickly. I want to be face to face with you without any interruption, without any physical, earthly barriers. I just want to be face to face with you. So, and also our speaking determines the condition of our heart. Jesus says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. In Luke 6:45 says, a good person produces good things from the treasury of a good heart, and an evil person produces evil things from the treasury of an evil heart. So what you say actually flows from your heart. So she's speaking from her heart. The heart of the bride is just wholly filled with him. Nothing else has a place. He has the first place in all things. She is mature, full grown in Christ, and her heart just longs for him. This is the voice that he wants to hear and that she speaks to him. The feeling of the voice as she answers him is also filled with longing, with desire. She answers with a longing. I guess you could even say it's a prayer. She says, make haste, hurry, quickly come. And the question is do I pray this? How much have I prayed this last week for the Lord's return? Is this my longing? Do I want the beloved Christ to return? This voice comes from the mature heart who is so much in love with him. Nothing matters to her but the beloved Christ. The only thing that separates her from him to have a full union of life and love is the body of the flesh, the earthen vessel. So she longs to be freed from the body. She wants her body to be transfigured into a body of glory to be with him. So there would be nothing between. While we here's let me give you a few verses. 2 Corinthians 5:4. It says, while we live in these earthly bodies, we groan and sigh. We want him. We groan and sigh. And here's another one, 1 Corinthians 15:53. It says, the perishable must clothe itself with the imperishable, and the mortal with immortality. We have to have our bodies transfigured to be with him. And 1 John 3:2 says, when Christ appears, we will be like him. And then one other verse in Philippians 1:23, Paul was making a choice, but he says, I long to go and be with Christ, which is far better for me. So after her deep longing, her heartfelt prayer of make haste, she addresses him. And so we're going to cover the next two words. We covered make haste. Now the next two words is my beloved. This has been her loving and intimate title for him throughout the song. And this is what the Father said about the Son when he was baptized and when he was on the Mount of Transfiguration. He said, "This is my beloved. This is my beloved in whom I delight." And there's a marvelous verse in Ephesians 1:6, if you get a chance to look at it. It says, "We were graced, we were accepted in the beloved." This is really too wonderful. The beloved is the Father's delight, and we were graced into the beloved. We are God's delight. And love is the focus, the theme, the reason of the song. Love begins the song, love continues the song, love consummates the song, love grows, love increases, love deepens as the two become one. And this is our song. Our love is growing. Our love is getting deeper, stronger for Jesus, our beloved. Love attracted us one day. Love captivated us. Love has changed us and continues to change us. And so this is our song of songs. Love is referred to, actually, when you read through the song, at least 50 times. He calls her my love. And then she responds and calls him my beloved. She calls him my beloved, and he returns with saying, my love. And so if you consider the title of love that she uses, it's mentioned at least 28 times. She calls him my beloved. And so if you go step by step, focused on the beloved, let me just kind of look at some of these verses. The first time she calls him my beloved is back in chapter 1, verse 14. She says, my beloved is like a cluster that rests between my breasts. So the beginning, or the first time she calls him my beloved, she's taking him into her heart and finding him as rest within. So she's beginning to contact him, know him, love him. Then she says, my beloved is fair in chapter 1, verse 16. Eventually, the beloved will say, no, you are fair. So they both begin to show forth beauty. He is fair, she is fair. And then she says that her beloved, in chapter 2, verse 3, her beloved is far higher or better than all the sons of men. Then she says, my beloved's voice. She talks about his voice. And this starts to get intimate, where she can recognize his voice, which speaks from his heart. And then she says, my beloved is like a roe. And in this verse, in chapter 8:14, she'll say it again. And then in chapter 2, verse 16, the beloved was speaking to her and says, rise up, my love, and come away. He wanted her into more intimacy. Again, the beloved is like a roe in chapter 2, 17. And then in chapter 4, verse 16, she has a prayer and she says, beloved, come into my garden. I've been growing the beauty of Christ. Now I want you to come in and enjoy the rich fruits, the rich flowers, the rich fragrances, the rich spices. Come, my beloved. And then in chapter 5 is the time this title is used the most. It says the beloved was knocking. She was resting, he was knocking. Then the beloved puts his hand in through the door. And then so she responds. She says, I rose up to open to my beloved. And then she opened to him, but the beloved had withdrawn himself. I don't know if she took too long or she hesitated. She wanted to remain where she was already in her maturity at that stage. But then she went to seek for him, and she found some, and she says, if you find him, tell me where he's at. And then some others, they said, well, you're so occupied with this person you call beloved. What is your beloved more than any other beloved? And then in chapter 5, starting with verse 10, she says, my beloved is, and then she describes him in at least 10 different ways, 10 descriptions. And then finally at the end, in chapter 5, verse 16, she says, I've told you so much about my beloved, but let me end it this way. My beloved is altogether lovely. And then there was another question. Well, where'd your beloved go? Where is your beloved? Where did he turn aside to? And then she starts to realize where he's at. She says he's gone down into the garden. And then she says in chapter 6, verse 3, my beloved is mine. And then the best wine is for my beloved. And then she says, come, my beloved. I've laid up for you something, my beloved. I've been storing up the riches that you've given me, and I want to give them back to you. And then in chapter 8, verse 5 is such a precious verse. In chapter 3, verse 6, it says that she was coming up out of the wilderness like perfumes, like a cloud. But in chapter 8, verse 5, she's coming up from the wilderness again. Our life is filled with wildernesses. But in chapter 8, verse 5, it says, here she comes leaning upon her beloved. This is just an intimate relationship with her beloved. And then in this verse where we're at now, chapter 8, verse 14, she says, my beloved, make haste, my beloved. And let me just say a little more about this. When you look at this title, my beloved, some divide up the book of the Song of Songs with 3 advances of devotion to him, or three stages of the growth in life by using this title, my beloved. In chapter 2, verse 16, she says, my beloved is mine and I am his. So the first stage would be she possessed him as the object of her affections, and all things of him were grasped in relation to her pleasure. So the first time she says this, my beloved is for my pleasure. He is for me. But then in the second time it's mentioned, it's like it's turned around. It says, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. So through the growth of love and life, she becomes more conscious that she is the object of his possession, losing herself as the center. First she says, he is mine. Now she's saying, no, I am his. And then the third time in chapter 7, verse 10, she says, I am my beloved's, and his desire is toward me. So she belongs to him. His affections are toward her, and this little word mine has vanished. At this stage of love with her, it's all about him, his pleasure, his desire. So she calls him my beloved. She calls him her beloved because she's just filled with him, mature in him. She can no longer be cast off or separated from him. And this is her current reality. This is her experience. She just has a strong, unhesitating confidence in her bridegroom. She's wholly his, absolutely yielded to him. She left her own ways, her thoughts, she has his mind and does his will. Love has been perfected in her. The union of love is perfected. All that is left is separation from the body of clay, earthly body, the body of humiliation, so the union would be complete. So she desires to be sanctified holy, like it says in 1 Thessalonians 5:23, that her whole spirit, soul, and body would be preserved complete at the coming of the beloved Christ, her bridegroom. Excuse me. In chapter 8, verse 13, she was dwelling among the gardens. She was ministering the riches that she had to the other gardens, supplying them. But then he says, you're speaking to them, you're busy serving others. Let me hear your voice. What would you say if the Lord says, let me hear your voice? But at this time in maturity, and she's so full of love, she says, my beloved, make haste, my beloved. It's like, I don't want anything. I'm serving others, yes, and it's wonderful. But I want you back. I want to see you face to face. Is this my desire? Is this your desire? He is her beloved. He has done a work of love, actually to take her by the hand. He was with her patiently in all her distractions, wilderness wanderings. He is our beloved. We are his love. The beloved, he's restored our souls. Our soul, our mind, emotion, and will, our thoughts, our love, our choices are just filled with him. He revived our drooping affections. He made our affections different. They're full of love. Before we loved the world, now we love him. We know the treasures of his step-by-step love from beginning to full growth. So we long for his return, his coming back. We want him. We want him back. So this is our prayer. Make haste, my beloved. Make haste, my beloved.